we are live. This is Math 40, elementary algebra, and we're talking percents, woohoo! And the word applications, which of course is a sneaky way to say word problems. Yay, word problems. But first, what I want to do is review percents. And I know percents for some people, easy peasy. For other people, it's like, I can't even remember this. So let's do some quick review first. And the instructions are to convert each from percent to decimal or from decimal to percent. So whatever it is, go to the other one. So for example, 31%. And the way that you convert it, if you don't already know, is you take the 31 and the decimal point, if we don't write it in, is here to begin with. It's right at the end of the number if we don't otherwise write it in. And then you move it 2 spaces, 1, 2, so that the decimal becomes 0.31. It's 2 spaces because percent comes from the same word cent comes from, which is centum, and cent equals 100 or 1/100th. So when we're talking about cent, we're talking about 100. So 2 decimal places gives you the hundredths. Woohoo! What if we have 130%? Well, again, if it's 130%, I write out where the decimal point starts out, and if it isn't written in, it's right at the end of the last digit, and then I move it 2 spaces, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I get 1.30, or I can write it as 1.3 if I choose. Now, why does it go all the way to the front? Well, 130% is more than the whole thing. 100% means the whole thing. So 130 means the whole thing and a little bit more. This is a decimal. How do I know that? Because there's no percent sign. So if I've got the decimal 0.08, I have to go into percents. Now, percents are bigger, decimals are smaller. So, well, they're actually equal, but the percent looks larger and the decimal looks smaller, I should say. So the decimal is small. When I go from percent to decimal, I move the decimal point this way. And when I go from decimal to percent, I'm going to move the decimal point the other way. 1, 2, and I get 8. But I can't just leave it as 8. I have to say percent. Same thing here. If I've got the number, and I'm going to rewrite it so I got more room, 0.456, 50.456. I move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right because this is a decimal. 1, 2. And I get 50 and then 45. So 5045.6%. 5,045.6%. Now, this is the way that I normally teach. I just go through and I kind of remind you, and everyone tries to remember. And then it dawned on me something that I haven't been saying, but that I could say. Percents are like dollars. Woohoo! If I have, where's my, so I know there's a lot written there, so let me get another card so we can stay focused. So if I have 10 cents, that's written as $0.10. And most people are fairly familiar with this. If I have 10%, see how the cents come in, cents versus percents? I've got 0.10. So just imagine it's cents and convert it to dollars. It's the same conversion. Let's look at another one. If I have 5 cents, that is $0.05, or 5% is 0.05 as a decimal. And then if I have, and I ran out of room on the card, so we have to come down here, but if I have 365 cents, well, I've got more than $3, right? That's a lot. It's $3.65. In the same way, 365% is 3.65. So if you get stuck with percents, just imagine that you've got the decimals on the dollar sign. So decimals are the dollars and percents are the cents. Decimals are the dollars, cents are the percents. Woohoo. Okay, that was my brilliant realization today. Okay, so having said that, next up, let's do some translation. So translation are the first step towards word problems. And these are going to be problems where we're going to be able to go directly from English into math. So what number is 5% of 96? So the first thing is we're going to need a variable. I need a variable that represents what number. So I'm going to say let n equal the number. And you don't have to say the number, it could be something else. So if n is the number, this is, remember what I'm doing, we talked about before, this is declaring variables. Woohoo. Okay, so what number, okay, that's the n, is, let's see, let me use some underlining here. Pink, what number? There we go. The word is, do you guys know what that is? In math, the word is becomes an equals. Okay, here's where we got to do some translation. 5%. Okay, 5% is like cents. So 5 cents is $0.05. So that's 5% is 0.05. This is the decimal that is equivalent to 5%. Then we've got this little tiny word, which, let me not use blue because that's too close. How about purple? Let me know, let me know in the real world if my colors are getting too close to each other. Say, hey, these colors are really hard to tell apart, and I will get some new colors. What is the word of? Do you guys know? The word of in English refers to what in math? Well, there are a couple different things, but generally in algebra, if you see of, weirdly enough, multiplication. I know it's kind of weird, but that is what it is. And then I'll use orange for the last one. High contrast. And that's just 96 is already a number. It's a decimal already, so we're done. So I've got n equals 0.05 times 96. Well, heck, I can do that. I mean, I don't know if I can do it in my head tonight, but I could try. Or I could do 0.05 times 96 equals 4.8. And equals 4.8. Now, here's the thing. For a lot of math teachers, it's very important to answer in a sentence. I do not mind the sentence. I'm going to look for two things. I'm going to look for, did you tell me what the variable was? Yes, you did. We did right there. And two, did you use units? What are units? Well, if this were how many apples, you would write 4.8 apples or 4.8 inches or whatever you're calculating. In this case, we're just talking about numbers, so there's no unit. So really all I need to do personally is I'm just going to put a square around this. However, for other instructors, you want to be careful because the answer might be the number is 4.8 or 4.8 is 5% of 96. So if you have any questions about setting up the sentences, awesome, happy to answer. But for my class, this is sufficient. Woohoo, we're doing fine for time. So let's see if we can squish in a couple more. Oops, sorry, ring light. 102 is 21.3% of what number? Let me write that bigger. 102 is 21.3% of what number? And then just to make it more interesting, I'm going to say, let's let x equal the number. I think a lot of people like using x. So you can use, on your own, you can use whatever letter you want. Don't use E, don't use O, and don't use I. Pretty much all the other letters are fair game. And if you want to use letters from other sets of letters, like the Greek alphabet or the Cyrillic alphabet, or if you want to use Chinese characters or Thai characters, Vietnamese, South Korean, Korean of any stripe, go for it. What I would encourage you to do is, if you think there's a chance that I won't be familiar with it, maybe check in with me just so I recognize what's going on, because confusing the instructor is, that's easy to do. So shall we go ahead and give this a try? So we're going to use X for the number. So I'm going to put the X there. I've got 102. I know 102. That's yay. 102 is just a number. It's a decimal already, so we got it. The word is. Do you remember what the word is was? Was. That's a weird sentence. Equals. Then we've got to get the decimal. Sorry, the decimal from the percent. So if it's 21.3% or 21.3 cents, we convert this to the decimal, think dollar, by moving the decimal point 2 spots, 0.213. That's our decimal right there. And then, I'm almost there, the word of, what was the word of before? The word of was multiplication. And then the what number is going to be the X. Okay, so I've got this new mathematical statement, 102 equals 0.213 times X. Okay, how do we solve for X? And hopefully you're looking at it going, oh, well, it's multiplication. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to do division. 102 divided by 0.213. And over here, I'm going to divide by 0.213. Right? I'm balancing. Remember, if you put your pencil or your pen on the equal sign, there should be one on each side. Okay, and that cancels. Woohoo, this cancels with that. And then over here, I've got X on the right, and it's calculator time. 102 divided by 0.213 equals. Oh, man. That is a very large number, and it goes forever. And we've got a problem. And the problem is it didn't tell me how to round. And so what I'm going to write is, I'm going to write the whole number here, 478.8732, and then I'm going to write dot, dot, dot. I don't know if you can see, I wrote dot, dot, dot. And if I write X equals, let me rewrite it so I got a little more space, 478.8732 dot, dot, dot. Then people know that I'm giving an exact value, but they don't necessarily, they know it's an exact value, and they know that there are more numbers that come. Now, if I want to approximate it, let's see, what if I wanted to go to a single decimal place or 2 decimal places? Well, let's go to just 1. If you got to this on a test, you should say, hey, you didn't tell us how to round. And I'd say, oh my goodness, I didn't tell you how to round. So let's go ahead and how do we round? If we round to 1 decimal place, we would do an approximately. See how the equals gets wiggly? So it's kind of like, it's kind of close. And then 478. And then remember, we look at the number that comes right after the number we're interested in, and we see if it's 5 or bigger, we go up. This is a 7, so I'm going to do 0.9. And this is rounded to 1 decimal place. And I would apologize and say I should have specified when I wrote down the problem. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see if we've got time for one more. We do. So 31 is what percent of 500? Shall we translate? 31, already a number, 31. The word is one of the little ones. It's funny, the little ones are the most important, is the equals, right? Let me get that fat so you guys can see it. There we go. Now, this is an interesting one. What percent? And then of, and then 500. This is another number. Now the of we know is multiplication and the 500, and you're noticing I didn't fill in the green. And here's where I disagree with the book. So I think you can just put in a variable here. Now what the book would like you to do is to write the variable like this. And I can see it this way. So I'm going to tell you when you're solving the problem, and if you're doing this on WebAssign, you have to write it like this. If you do not write it like this, it'll get marked wrong and they'll be cranky. And then you will come ask me and I'll say, oh, that's right. You have to write it the special way. Now, could you still solve the problem if you wrote this whole thing as n? Absolutely. So this is a style issue. And I kind of like it the other way, but I want to show you this way because this is the way the book would like you to do it. So it's the way the homework is going to want you to do it. So I'm going to say let n equal, oh, I should have gone with p for percentage, huh? The percentage, there we go. So 31 equals n over 100 times 500. And since this is now a fraction, because n out of 100 is a percent, I'm going to write this as 500 over 1. And that's going to allow me to, ta-da, like that. 100 goes once into itself and 5 times into 500. And then I get 31 equals n times 5. And then I have to divide both sides by 5. So 31 over 5 equals n times 5 all over 5. So I get 31 over 5 equals n. I'm going to write it the other way around. N equals 31 over 5, which I'm going to bet is something nice. 31 divided by 5 is 6.2. What does our answer mean? Let's take a good look at it because we constructed it a very special way. Percent means divided by 100. So n over 100 is the percent. So the n is the number that's the percent. So 6.2 is the percent. We don't have to convert it. Because of this 100, we don't have to make it into a percent. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of. So since it was already built to be a percent, the percent is attached. Okay, woohoo. So a little bit, remember, let me put this up if you want to screen shoot this. Percents are like dollars, so you can always remember that. I will put this in, this will be sitting in the notes. The next video is going to be a couple more percentage problems, but these are less translation and more like just general questions about percents and how they work in the real world. Woohoo! Math on, guys. Math on. Thank you.